Welcome to the WACO Experience, an American story.
We, the people.
With your host, D. Scott Smith.
In order to form a more perfect union.
Interviews with leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations.
Promote the general welfare.
Jobs, products and services, and infrastructure for strong communities. Secure
the blessings of liberty.
The WACO Experience is an American story, a story of communities across America. It is your story.
You multiplied by AI equals unstoppable. It's like AI helping you, enhancing you, making you unstoppable as opposed to replacing you.
Fernando Labastida lost his job to artificial intelligence. Rather than lament the loss, he charged into this technology to learn how he and others could benefit by using AI as a tool. He has partnered with Mike Hamilton of Rogue Media Network, and together they have founded the UXAI Conference coming this September 12th, 2026 here in downtown Waco. The UXAI Conference is a sponsor of this radio show and has offered a discount on tickets. Fernando will share the secret discount code later in this episode. Like automobiles, cell phones, and the internet itself, AI is and will continue to be deeply embedded in our daily lives. Some have valid concerns about artificial intelligence. My experience is that the unknown is much more frightening than the known. I strongly recommend becoming familiar with what AI can and cannot do. Attend the UXAI conference and meet our local experts. I'm your host, D. Scott Smith. Each week I bring you stories from leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations. You can learn more about this program, our sponsors, and the podcast version of this show by going to our website, thewacoexperience.com. This program is made possible by sponsors. Quality Cabinets. Your home is an extension of your personality. Smooth, clean, and elegant. Quality Cabinets is the perfect choice for the modern aesthetic. Visit the Design Center at 720 New Dallas Highway in Waco. Quality Cabinets, modern design, everyday comfort. Call 254-744-0938 and visit the website qualitycabinetstx.com. Christian Family Law Solutions is a Christian-based, solutions-focused mediation provider. They help their clients avoid costly litigation and remain focused on the most important priorities in their lives, creating paths for peaceful resolution, not brokenness. Call 254-777-5171 and on the web, 1c6.law. PresentGifting.com. Imagine never forgetting an event for those important people in your life, because relationships are important and moments matter. Present Gifting is a free service to send you gentle reminders of birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, and more. Register today at PresentGifting.com. Heart of Texas TV Indoor Billboards. My friend J.B. James Battle, former helicopter pilot for the U.S. Army, and his team at Hot TV amplify your brand where it matters most. Be seen where your customers eat, work, shop, and play. Learn more on the web, hotdigitaltv.com. Ray's Automotive Specialist. My car is my baby. When it needs service, I call Ray. Certified technicians, Christian values. Domestic or import, Ray has you covered. Call 254-495-7810 and on the web at fixmycarray.com. D. Scott here, back at Dichotomy Coffee. Another beautiful morning here in Waco, Texas. Fall is coming and football is coming, and so we're all happy here. But I am with Fernando Labastida and Mike Hamilton. We're going to be talking about a conference coming up on September 12th. That's a Saturday at the PAC. That's the Performing Arts Center right here on Austin Avenue, just a few blocks away from Dichotomy. But AI is a big topic, and we have got experts, and we've got local experts. So, Fernando, let's get an overview of who you are and what's going on in your world.
Yes, I'm Fernando Labastida. Like you said, you pronounced it perfectly. I'm a marketing strategist and category designer, which I can explain a little later on. But I've been really focused on content for a long time as a marketing tool. But then when AI came around, I was laid off as part of the first wave of content creators being laid off from AI. So I'm thinking I either fight it or I join it. So I decided to join it. And I've been immersed in AI, starting off with ChatGPT and then Claude and Gemini since around 2023.
A friend of mine, Matt Rouse, wrote a book. Actually, he wrote two books will AI take my job? So the answer was yes in Fernando's case.
Right. But I've turned the tables around on the powers that be, or whoever they are, some mythical powers that be, that, so now AI is my superpower. But we've reached another inflection point now in that I'm seeing a backlash against AI everywhere. People are saying, oh, I'm sick and tired of seeing all this AI slop on my LinkedIn timeline, or, on content everywhere, or, I don't want a data center to be in my backyard. But I think what's going on is, at the same time, all these companies want to learn AI, right? So despite the backlash, they all want to get immersed in AI because they don't want to be left behind, right? Because they're seeing their competitors starting to do it, and they're figuring out, okay, how do I do this, right? So it's kind of like a contradictory period that we're in now. And really the key to this is, how do we put the human at the center of AI, so that they're, first of all, that you sound like yourself, even if you're using AI to help you with your content. How do you get away from AI having this awful AI language?
So let's get an idea of the conference that's coming up, September 12th. Let's get the details on that website. Perfect. And we'll give people a teaser. There's an opportunity for some discounts. Let's have, Mike, an introduction of you.
Yes, sir.
And because you're at Rogue.
I am.
You've been there since before the beginning of
2019. Rogue. Yeah.
Let's talk about this conference that's coming up.
Fernando mentioned that backlash. I think that that's part of why we're doing this. We want to show that normal people, I guess, which I don't know if that's the right term or not.
Well, us mortals.
Regular people, yeah, blue-collar workers to white-collar workers, all could benefit from AI. But we want to show it from every angle. So we've got somebody from law enforcement. We have somebody in the law industry. We've got a literal scientist who uses it. We've got Hope Koch, who is at Baylor, a big-time professor over at Baylor. She's going to come tell us how she uses it both in the classroom and out. I think that we've got a pretty good lineup here of people that kind of touch on all those areas. So,
and what's the website for people to sign up?
uxai.live.
And that's
YOUXAI.live.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Very good. I love
sir.
I love the harmony we did on that one.
Yeah, that's
Very
right.
good.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Everywhere I go, I try to sing to somebody.
I sing like a door hinge, so I feel privileged at this moment. All right. So
uxai.live. Yes, sir. Yep.
And then people can register for that.
They absolutely can. You're talking about an event with 2 stages, workshops, also everything going at once. It's going to be, I'm telling you, this thing's going to last 8-9 hours, but it's going to feel like nothing because you're going to have something to do.
My recommendation is always for people, come early and stay late.
Yes, absolutely.
And build those relationships, because you're going to learn a lot in each of the workshops, each of the seminars. Yes. But what's going to happen is you're going to build some relationships. Yeah. You're going to have a question a week or a month from now, and you're going to go, I know who to call.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I think that you're going to find that a lot of these people will learn a lot more from each other than they ever do from us. And that's great. If we can just be the catalyst to put these people together, that's great. I think it's very successful if we're able to do that. Because, as it sits, Waco and McLennan County, we don't really have like AI meetup groups or anything like that. I would love for something like that to blossom out of this as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. Fernando, let's talk a little bit about how you came up with the idea. So you guys are the co-founders of this. So how did this all come up to say, let's have a conference?
The beautiful after effect of having AI, and especially agentic AI, where you can now create agents that are like your little employees that you let loose on your work, and to actually even create software applications, etc., is that now people in places like Waco or Abilene or, Athens, Georgia, or Anchorage, Alaska, who are not in the Silicon Valley or New York City, can now create incredible things. Like for example, there's 2 of the speakers at our event, 2 foreign Baylor students, one from Uzbekistan and one from Kyrgyzstan, have actually created an app. They're not engineering students, right? One's studying finance and one's studying international studies. They created an app called Admit AI, which helps people through the university application process based on their trials and tribulations as foreign students trying to figure out how to apply for a U.S. University, get funding, etc. So it's like, if they can do it and they're here in Waco and they didn't get VC funding, what else? And so what I noticed from visiting Mike, and I was just fascinated, I live in Austin, just an hour and a half down the road, is that Waco has this wellspring of creativity. It's a growing center of startups, there's an independent film movement over here. People are creating video games, et cetera. And AI can just supercharge what they're doing with that, right? So they don't have to go and live on Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley, or they don't even have to live in Austin, right? So all this stuff, AI is unlocking the creativity, or it's not unlocking the creativity, it's amplifying the creativity.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's not replacing the creative person. It's enhancing what they can do and accelerating what they can do. Let's talk for just a moment about this difference. You mentioned agentic, there's generative AI. Can you give us just a snapshot of what that means?
Okay, so I'll just kind of tell you about how I use it, just to kind of give you a real life example. So when I started off, I just used it to sort of ask questions. How do I do this? Or, write this for me, or edit this. Now what I do is I use Claude Code and Claude Cowork, but now Claude Code, and it's built these little automations for me so that every night I wake up and it said, okay, I created these 20 emails for you to go prospect to people, right? And it's in your drafts folder. Just look at them, check them, and you can send them. So I gave it a list of people that I want to start having conversations with to sell them my services, right? Or it also says, look, you had all these phone calls, and I read the transcripts of the phone calls overnight, and here's the action items from those transcripts. So it's literally doing what I would have to have paid an assistant.
Yeah, so this is where it's working as an agent. And so This is what we mean by
agentic AI.
Agentic.
Yeah.
So what about generative?
And generative is when it's like, where the agent will hand off or will double as a generative, it'll actually help you come up with concepts, right? So I brainstorm with AI, right? I came up with a whole methodology, a whole framework, which I'm calling the Viral Genius Framework. And I was brainstorming with AI, and then AI uncovered all these people who have done academic papers, done research. Look, this is this is not just a theory you have, Fernando. This is backed by research, and you could do it this way and that way. So it actually came up with a nuance that I hadn't thought of. And then I can choose to accept it, or I can say, well, Chat or Claude, this is not really going to fly with real life people. But that's generative AI. It's helping you create. It's kind of like co-creating with the AI, because it can come up with concepts or variations of concepts.
This is where we see people using it to create images, videos, or even audio, things like Suno, where you can create music.
Yeah, I think
something.
that if you want super simple, just think agentic, agents, and generative, make something. That's really as easy as it gets there. Something I saw this week, which I think is probably the future of what we're about to see unleashed. Number one, Google is not releasing their new model until January. So they must have something big in the gun to shoot at everybody, because it's been a long time since they've done some real updates. But I saw Grok, which I'm not a huge fan of Elon, but he falls over into roses. So I think that Grok could be onto something. And here's what I saw. They put out GrokBot, which is a super simple 2 or 3 buttons. You click those buttons, your agents are up and going. Like, installing a harness normally, which is what they call that sort of interface, right? It's a harness that helps you host your LLM in the background so you can speak to it and things like that.
And the LLM, that's the
large language model.
Okay,
yes,
there we go.
And the thing about that is, like, when you go to ChatGPT, that's your harness. It just happens to be in a browser, right? Same deal with Claude. Claude has its own harness that hosts both Claude Code and Cowork, and sometimes they just call it Work or whatever. Harnesses are notoriously kind of hard to set up because there's a lot of different things going into it. So for me, what I would love to do is have something that kind of hosts all the models for me and will allow me to assign them to agents. So the deal with GrokBot was, this is their big difference. Their agents all have a virtual machine attached to them. So they can literally do anything on a computer, not even necessarily under your name. It's just they have their own instance of a computer. attached to each one of these agents, which to me is probably what we're looking at down the road, where these things can not only go out and do your bidding, but they can do it efficiently, and they can look things up. Some of them will have email addresses individually so that you can send them things back and forth. We're just at the tip of this thing. It's about to get huge.
Well, this is a great time for people to jump in, because the tools are available. Absolutely. And they're affordable right now.
Getting more and more so.
The power that they have to, I will say, smartly automate tasks is probably the primary thing that most businesses are doing right now.
Absolutely. Sure.
There's a lot more power behind these tools. So, Fernando, you were talking a little bit about how it's helping you in your marketing by finding people, creating the emails, but not actually sending them out. So you've kind of throttled it back so you get to have eyes on it before it goes out. So let's talk about some of the safety items that people, because that's the first thing that people start talking about, right? I mean, we as we say, it's bad news that sells newspapers.
Yes.
But let's talk about some of the safeties that go in. Let's talk about the airbags that are embedded in there.
So I use Claude Code, which is normally used to create software applications. Some of the biggest companies, including Claude itself, builds more of its own software using Claude Code, and it has engineers and computer programmers just supervising it and checking it, right? And that's the thing, it's the checking of the work. So I use Claude Code. I've kind of hacked it so that it does my marketing for me, because I've built these little agents, and I've even built some applications that I use for myself. The whole thing I've built into it for safety purposes is an approval gates, right? So these approval gates are kind of already naturally built into it. You can tell it to bypass that and just do things autonomously on your behalf and pray that it's going to, get your voice right, and it's not going to send a random email to the wrong person with the wrong message. But the approval gates are perfect because it says, okay, write these 30 emails to these prospects, but put it in my drafts folder so that I can look at it, rewrite something, maybe put a personalization of, hey, we just met each other at HEB the other day. Good to run into you. And by the way, blah, 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 right? So there's the approval gates, number one. Number two, you can actually set these things up. Like there's this open source AI called OpenClaw, which there was one sensational news item where it kind of exposed all this financial information from somebody onto the web. That's the stuff, like you said, the bad news that gets the attention. But people, what they're doing for safety purposes is that they're installing that, or they're installing Claude Code or Claude Cowork on a dedicated Mac Mini, or whatever machine. You can even do it on an old machine that you haven't used in years that doesn't have access to your financial information, your private info, the love letters you sent to your wife, etc. And that's another way of helping you to have safety in that regard. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Because of the way some of the machines were built, these old Apple iMacs, the ones that look like the ET's head, those tend to be very popular for people to set up a localized AI platform.
If you've got, I've got a couple of these old Apple M1s. They're little Mac Minis, and they've got 16 gigs of RAM on them, which these days is $500 or more. They run really well because of the silicon-based stuff that's inside this machine. It runs cooler. It's able to run these sorts of models. Now there is a company out there that's gotten I think it's a 64 gig. It may be bigger than that, but they've gotten it down to where it'll fit like on a thumb drive. There's a compression method that they use to allow them to compress this thing, which I'm not sure how that works, because it seems like it needs all of the words, so I'm not sure when
there's an amount of magic that that happens out there, and that's fine.
He talked about OpenClaw, and that's another one of those harnesses that there's two different things, right? There's harnesses, and then there are routers. And so harnesses literally are just your front end for whatever model you're using. Routers will allow you to work individually with models, meaning that I can set up this agent to only use Claude. I can set up this agent only to use OpenAI, right? And then my third agent, maybe he uses a free model, maybe because I'm not super worried about him having all of the latest technology. If he's just going to help me write something, that sort of thing. So that's the kind of thing that I think you're going to start seeing now. I think we mentioned small business a little bit, or if we didn't, I'm going to bring it up. I think that the future in AI, at least the immediate future, is for these guys that have been doing computer support, WordPress support, things like that. They're not really needed now, right? Because we can just ask the questions and do the things. But I think there's still some business there for them. And if I ran that sort of business, I would immediately flip into an AI business. And what I would do is I would get small businesses. And I've always used this one as the example. We've got a place here in town that is Ambolds, just nothing but keys, right? They make keys, they make locks, things like that. They have been around for 1,000 years, right? And there's no way they know where all their keys are. There's just no freaking way they know where all the keys are. So there's something to that and maintaining a great inventory. Plus they have employees, they have, books to keep, they have inventory to keep, they have all these other things. What I would do is I would start scouring for some of those little Mac minis or something in that category. I'd charge these folks, $500 to take this thing in and get it set up. And I would go with a free model that doesn't necessarily hit a bunch of stuff, but just let it sit there and start learning. 6 months down the road, it's going to know all of your inventory. It's going to know all your employees. It's going to know all your books. It's going to be able to do all those things for you. And then these guys that were making their business by updating things and maintaining things, you just charge them a nominal fee each month, and if they need you, you're on call.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
the same thing
new business opportunities, and I know at Rogue Media, and Mike, I want to stick with you for a moment here. I see like Rogue Media clips from the different shows, and I don't know how many shows are coming out of Rogue, but there's a lot.
There's a few, yeah.
Some people might be intimidated and say, hey, I'm going to do, I would like to do a podcast, a video podcast.
Yeah.
But then they start thinking about all the time that it's going to take to find the clips and do the promotion and stuff. Sure. But I think AI has been helping you guys be a little more efficient.
We use Opus, which is heavily AI based, and it will go in. It basically, and this is really the way you do it, right? I'll give you a secret here. You transcribe everything. Computer can't see it, so it has to read it. And if you can get it used to listening for your pauses and things like that, then it does a really good job of picking out good moments, especially if you keep things updated. But what we'll do is we'll go into Opus, we'll take about 10 minutes of a show, throw it in there, and just let it cook. And then after about 10 minutes or so, it'll come back with like 4 or 5 different examples that we could use, and then we take it from there and fine-tune it.
So basically very similar to what Fernando is doing with the email prospecting.
Yeah.
And so you have control. It's not doing the posting for you, but
absolutely,
it's taking that time, because if you're watching 10 minutes of video clip, it takes a hard 10 minutes. You can't just
scrub. You got to scrub right? Up and down, and you're listening for good moments and things like that. So yeah.
Okay, so a perfect example of that is the social media promotion we're doing for the UXAI Summit. So we've interviewed all the speakers, and those are like 20-minute long interviews, and I put them into a tool called Descript, very similar to Opus, and it does a transcript, and then the AI has a direct connection to that, and it can pick out those little 15-second clips that have those little golden nuggets of information. And so it gave me all these clips, and I looked at it and I said, oh my God, these are the best moments of the shows. I cut the clips based on what AI gave me the recommendation, and I've been posting that, and that's been going like gangbusters on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc.
Again, let's get the website and some of the social media where people can find out more about this AI conference coming up in September.
So the website is uxai.live, YOUXAI.live. And then we have a Facebook page. It's the UXAI equals Unstoppable Summit, or the UXAI Summit on Facebook. And then on LinkedIn, same thing, UXAI equals Unstoppable Summit, UXAI Summit. On LinkedIn, you just have to type in, either UXAI equals Unstoppable or just UXAI Summit, YOU. And the YOUXAI is U multiplied by AI equals Unstoppable, right? So it's like it's like AI helping you, enhancing you, making you unstoppable as opposed to replacing you.
And people who are listening to this show can get a ticket right now by going to that website and put in a code. What
Okay.
is that code? Because they can get a discount.
So all one word, all capital, all caps, YOUXAI, WACO X.
All right. And that'll get people a discount right there.
20% discount.
That's a significant deal right there. And I will just say this is an affordable conference to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, if you wait to the last minute, it's going to cost you $99. As we sit here, the original price was $59, and then this month it went up to $79 because there is a scarcity to the amount of tickets. And that's because we have a smaller venue than, normal conferences would have. But I think this is important to get this one right so that next year, when we put this on again, which is something we definitely want to do, number one, there's no telling where we'll be in a year's time. But, next year is like, let's get the convention center. Let's do it upright. Let's do 2 days, and things like that. But I just want to introduce this to people so that they get the hunger for it like we have.
And the small venue, I say, is going to be better because for this one right here, because you are going to build those relationships.
Yeah.
Fernando,
even when you say small venue, we still have 2 stages.
We're going to have plenty going on,
Yeah.
but it's the relationships that you're going to build that will carry you through this next year, get you primed for maybe starting a new business that's AI focused, enhancing your existing business with AI, leave us with inspiration for the future with AI as our companion.
This is something that I truly am seeing actually right now, is that AI is really going to start, and we're starting to see this now, it's going to start an explosion of entrepreneurship. What the example that Mike told about the key company that, very old school, but now they can use the IT consultant with AI can help them have the same capability as a large company. It's going to help small companies grow really fast. It's going to help people wanting to start a business and to be able to grow really fast without having to hire, without having to put headcount on. And, everybody's saying, there's the fear mongers saying, well, AI is going to take your job. Well, these are jobs that didn't even exist anyway. These are completely brand new companies that are going to be started and they're going to start growing. And instead of putting headcount, they're going to put AI. Well, the headcount wasn't there in the first place because these are new companies that started out of thin air. But AI is going to help them do that. And I think that is the big opportunity. And that's what you're going to learn at the UXAI Summit. People are going to show you how to do that. Are going to show you how to automate your business, how to create applications.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of inspiration, okay? Inspiration is that there are millionaires being made every day through the use of AI. These are one-person companies making millions of dollars off of this. If you can get in there and learn it and be part of this initial explosion, then I think you're going to be okay. That's really the inspiration for me.
The WACO Experience, an American Story, is a production of D. Scott Smith Company, all rights reserved. Thank you for listening.